I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we can go ahead and do the pledge. Mr. Jim. Please stand.
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Nathan. All right, let's go ahead and roll call.
Commissioner Cruciat?
Here.
Let the record show that Commissioner Mendoza has an excused absence. Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Vice Chair Dixon?
Here.
Chair Pa'ahana?
Here. All right, so we'll go into our announcements. These proceedings may be viewed and on demand in the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going on the city website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Public comments. This is a time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on the agenda, on this agenda. All comments that are directed to the chair of the commission shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out your name and address on one of the yellow slips and give to the Planning Commission secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items not included on the agenda, printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the items on the agenda. So, commissioner comments and report. Oh, I gotta open the public. I'm just going through this agenda, guys. All right. So I'll go ahead and open. Anybody public one? Nope. Okay, gonna go ahead and close. And then we have commission comments and reports of meetings attended. Jim Cruciat.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, I did get a chance to attend the meeting on June 16th at Lucky Park's Activity Center on the Downtown Specific Plan. It was a very good presentation. We had 14 citizens attend. That's a little disappointing, but that was probably because of the heat. And I think we're going to have some other meetings on the Downtown Specific Plan. So I encourage everybody in town to attend these. It's a very good meeting where you can have some input into how we're looking at the future of 29 Palms. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Mr. Max.
I went to the city council meeting last week. It was a very lively discussion on several items. It was good to go. But that was it.
Thank you. Jason.
I have not attended any meetings. I would like to congratulate all the All-Stars for 29 Palms Little Leagues that have competed the last week and continue to seed and win. So I'm excited for that. Nice,
thank you. I was able to attend the, I call it the arena meeting, but I know that's not what it was called. But it was held over at the Lucky Park Community Center? Activity Center. I want to say that right so we know where we're going. It was very informational. I know we had a lot of local realtors that attended, just kind of getting involvement, hearing their questions, just how we could better get information prepared so that we can all kind of see what we're seeing together. It didn't have any COVID-19 impact, but I do understand that that's it's an anomaly, right? It's like something we're not going to have statistical data on right away. So thank you, commissioners, for sharing. So we'll move ahead to the consent calendar. One, we have the approval of the Planning Commissioner meeting minutes of April 20th. Do I have that?
Madam Chairperson, I move that we accept the minutes as presented. Thank you.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Cruciat?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dixon?
Aye.
Chair Pa'ahana?
I have a question about these minutes, but I should have said that before the roll call vote. It was April 20th was the
Yes.
meeting? Not
We're one
May
behind.
8th. Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Okay.
So aye.
We're one way.
I accept these minutes.
4-0 approved?
Okay, so items removed from the consent calendar for discussion. We do not have any. Moving right along to our public hearing, PC 2107, Site Plan and Design Review for Dollar General. Turning it now to our Community Development Director, Travis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant for this project is NNN Retail. The location is 73610 2 Mile Road. That's on the northeast corner of 2 Mile Road and Bagley Avenue. The area involved is a little over an acre, about 1.1 acres. The land use designation for the project is commercial general, and it is not in a flood zone. So here is an aerial of the property involved, outlined in red here. This is 2 Mile Road to the south, which is designated as an arterial in our general plan. Bagley Avenue to the west, and then Homestead Drive to the north here. Up to the northeast, there's the county, part of the county complex there, county's yard. This is the Rasta Rita, a little further to the east. Also to the east is Historic Plaza. Directly east is property owned by the Water District, and they have a facility there. Southeast is the Foster Freeze. And then to the south and west is single family and a combination of multifamily homes, as well as to the northeast. This is the zoning map for the area. Everything red, shown in red, is commercial general. You can see that exists to the northeast, east, and south. And then residential multifamily exists to the northwest, west, and southwest. These are some photos of the property. So this is looking northeast from 2 Mile Road. And then this is looking directly east on Bagley. And then this would be looking southeast from Homestead and Bagley. So the existing use is a vacant lot, and there's some weeds and scrub and some native vegetation there. The proposed use is a general merchandise retail store. This would be about 10,640 square feet in size. Along with parking, 36 spaces are required per the code, and 36 spaces are provided. Landscaping as well as stormwater management. The property does have quite a bit of street frontage, as you saw. So there is the requirement to install curb, gutter, and sidewalk along 2 Mile Road, Bagley Avenue, and Homestead Drive along their frontage. The project is proposed to have 2 points of access, one on Bagley Avenue on the west and Homestead Drive on the north, with the store facing 2 Mile. 2 Mile Road, like I said, is designated as an arterial with a 104-foot right-of-way. A 12-foot sidewalk is proposed along the frontage. This is consistent with the city's active transportation plan. So in essence, we're kind of replacing the asphalt path that's there, some of which is not in the best of condition, with a concrete path. Bagley Avenue and Homestead Drive are designated as collector roads with a 66-foot of right-of-way. An additional right-of-way is being dedicated for Bagley, essentially 3 feet to meet this designation. A partial street vacation is proposed for Homestead Drive with 17 feet right-of-way on the north being returned to the property. So what's happening there is Homestead Drive is currently 100 feet wide, so it's a very, very wide street. Far exceeds the designation of our general plan. We've been approached by a couple of property owners about some of that area being designated as essentially returning back to the property owner. So that is included, but that would have to be approved by City Council. So here is the site plan here, just kind of orientate you. This way is north. This is 2 Mile Road here. So essentially the store is facing north on 2 Mile with the parking lot there in the front. An entrance here off of Bagley, and then a second one off of Homestead here. Landscaping along the perimeter of the property, along with some additional to the rear where the septic drain field would be located. Handicap parking here up front, right in front of the store. And then there is a trash enclosure. This is the city standard trash enclosure here located in this location. Landscaping plan includes installation of drought-tolerant plants in the parking lots and around the perimeter of the site. This would include honey mesquites, desert willows, that's kind of the two main trees, and then blue glow agave, red yucca, trailing lantana, and deer grass, as long with rosemary as some of the shrubs and ground cover. This is a rendering of the landscape plan. You can see kind of in red here, placement of the desert willows, and the green are the honey mesquite trees. As far as the architecture of the structure, the applicant worked with us on the guidelines presented by the Planning Commission. So they went in more of a frontier direction on the architectural style, including elements such as a timber canopy with a corrugated steel roof at the main entrance and step parapets on the roof line. To break up the massing of especially the side walls, the facade will be alternating tan stucco on a masonry base, and then hardy board recesses in dark brown. Not specifically a condition of the staff report, we already have a pretty good lighting ordinance, which requires lighting to be shielded downward. But the applicant has agreed to a dark sky approved lighting. It's just basically another level of protection of the night sky. And it's very similar to the lighting that we're putting in Project Phoenix. All of that is dark sky approved. This is the elevation of the building. So this would be essentially the front facade of the structure facing 2 Mile. This would be the eastern edge, the rear of the building, and then this would be the western portion of the site. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines, the project exempt per section 15332 qualifies as an infill development project. So it is our recommendation that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution and approve the site plan and design, subject to the conditions of approval. And if you wanted to basically add the little note about the dark sky lighting, we can get that included in the conditions of approval. I believe the applicant is here to answer any questions. I did get a letter from one of the neighbors, and just kind of wanted to see if I could address some of those. They're asking about delivery times, and speaking with the applicant, it's typically once a week where a truck makes deliveries. Obviously, during higher seasons, there's more. Another question was construction times. Our code says 7 to 5. Typically, in summer, you can go 6 to 4 because of the heat. How do they plan to mitigate trash? As I mentioned, there is a trash enclosure that's up to the city standard and includes a waste bin, a recycling bin, as well as an organics bin. Mitigate the lighting, we talked about that, including dark sky approved. And then egress and ingress for delivery trucks. What makes the most sense is the truck come down Homestead and then circle here. The loading area is here to the side of the building. This is an extra wide travelway here, and then would exit off Bagley to 2 Mile. So that's truck turning diagram. And as mentioned, the applicant is here to answer any questions if needed. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anybody up here have some questions?
So just to make sure I understand, Mr. Clark, so what we're going to do is we're going to add the dark sky lighting, if we approve we will add the dark sky lighting requirement.
Right.
Okay.
And, yeah, specifically that would go basically in addition to condition P7.
Okay, thank you.
Max, any questions? No? Oh, thank you. Travis, I had a question. So looking at the traffic plan, so you would have to turn onto Bagley to enter into the facility?
Yes,
Okay.
which would be a collector road. So it would be widened in that area along the frontage. And that made the most sense to access the store because the parking really ideally would go up front, in front of the building along 2 Mile Road.
So there won't be a entrance or exits off 2 Mile?
No.
So I said earlier, you mentioned that through Bagley, the supplies would be coming through that way and then exiting out. So how are they going to make that turn?
They would come down Homestead and then go through the site, exit out Bagley.
Oh, okay.
And onto,
I see,
onto
okay.
2 Mile.
So I'm a truck driving down Adobe. I'd have to get into that left-hand turn lane and go into Homestead
Yes.
to come through the back end, make the delivery. I have wide enough to get out. So you could be turning when like a truck's exiting because it's made for the one way.
What's made for the one-way?
The truck is coming one way through, right? Or are they just backing in and out
Yes,
of
they're-
Homestead
they're-
only?
yeah, the
They're
flo-
not coming in front of the
Right.
where it says
Yeah,
okay.
the flow
So
is always through back out to 2 Mile.
back out to
2 Mile.
Homestead, turning right on Bagley, and okay, so going right in front of the store, side of the store.
Right.
Okay,
Once a week.
Once a week,
once a week,
generally.
and then making that turn. I'm a big truck, turning right onto 2 Mile.
Yes.
And except in the summertime when they have more deliveries.
Okay. Yeah, this, and, were any traffic studies done of how many cars are passing that 2 Mile Bagley area?
Not a full-blown sort of Caltrans study,
Mm-hmm.
just sort of trip generations
Okay.
that our engineer looked at.
And so the engineer developed this because it would be most conducive instead of people flying in and out of 2 Mile, they're at least coming out of the Bagley,
Right.
the stop
Right,
sign and.
yeah,
Okay.
basically not adding yet another entrance off of 2 Mile, using the existing entrance that's Bagley Avenue.
Okay. And then once you turn, so if I'm on Adobe, I turn left onto 2 Mile, turn right onto Bagley, I can turn right into the store and then go into that parking lot?
Yes, so you would basically make this movement here.
Okay, because I
Like that.
guess when I was looking at it, those look like, is that a planter or is that open space? Right where above that green, a little bit more up over?
This
Yeah,
here?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
That's all parking. So
no, right to the left of that, where that green line and box is.
On
Yes,
the-
that. You found it. So is that open right there? Because it doesn't look open. It looks like a planter's in that way. Am I looking
Oh,
at
no,
that
no,
wrong?
that's just what's,
That's to delineate so people aren't parking and driving back into the.
Oh, gotcha. Now I
Yeah.
see.
Ramp truck area.
yeah, that is what we call a drain gutter in the parking lot.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I'm seeing
it's-
something, but it's not,
it-
you could
yeah,
drive over it.
It's not a barrier, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the necessary handicap. Yeah, my concern was just how that traffic would be over there because it's pretty fun when you're trying to get out of Foster Freeze, Plaza Market, turning onto Adobe. So those were all my questions. I suppose I'll open the public hearing. So I'll open up the public hearing for site plan and design 2107. I have a vacant one who, Chuck, did you want to speak on this? I didn't see an item number. Chuck Hurd?
Yeah, no, I'm on the ADJOURNMENT.
Oh, okay. Item 2 or which one? 4?
3 or 4.
3? 4? 2?
3 and
Oh. Thank you. Sorry, I had that one up here. Did anybody want to public comment on this one? You, if you, yeah, if you'd like to come up to the microphone, please.
My name is Ted Pritchett, and I'm the owner of Plaza Steel and Steel Supply. And I'm just wondering what the flood mitigation would be, because every now and then, once every 5 years, it rains and we get a little flooding. Is there going to be any mitigation on this property such that it doesn't come down and flood my property?
Yeah, well, that's,
That's a great question. I'll let Travis answer
yeah,
that.
that's part of their drainage study, and the city's requirement is that any development retains water at the pre-development level, Okay, so you would look at runoff pre-development, and you would maintain that plus 10%. So in other words, you would not generate any additional runoff from the site, and actually you would retain more than what it was pre-development. That's part of our city code for the engineering, stormwater management.
Okay, since you're managing this, I'm just curious as to where the water goes that affects the people that are on Homestead. For example, you have all the hardscape off of this new Dollar General, and that hardscape collects water. Obviously, you're gonna try to collect some of it, but some of it also goes down to these other properties. And I'm wondering if there's any thought as to how to make sure that the properties don't get wiped out by 100-year floods or anything of that nature.
Well, again, the property itself is retaining all of its water on site. There would be some runoff from Bagley onto Homestead following the curb and gutter. So the curb and gutter along the site would direct the flow along the property line, not into the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Currently, where does that water go?
It goes southwards and mostly eastward on Homestead. Actually, probably look at a,
Well, the reason I'm asking is the city's come along a couple of times, and they have backfilled some of the flooded area in front of Plaza Welding and Steel Supply. So I'm just wondering if there's any additional work that you have to do because of this place.
not any additional on the streets. No, I was trying to bring up Google Maps so we could take a look at it here for you.
While Travis is looking at that applicant, I do apologize. You probably should have allowed you to speak first. So if you are interested in speaking after the question.
Yeah, it looks,
Yeah, you see right here on the map, this is my property here. This is where, on occasion, it doesn't rain often,
mhm.
but we get some flooding there. I was wondering if the impact of this new building over here is going to enhance that, and am I gonna be responsible for that?
No, I do not see it enhancing. Of course, if we got a 100-year rainstorm,
Yeah.
that's beyond,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
Again, what the city requires is you hold any runoff that's pre-development, you don't exacerbate it through the development, plus you withhold an additional 10%. It's kind of like an error factor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, applicant, I don't know your name. Did you want a chance to speak?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm David Church. I'm a Triple Net Retail Development. We're the developer for this Dollar General store. Again, we've worked pretty closely with Travis here for weeks now, and feel like, again, from our perspective, the kind of nuts and bolts of the development, we're pretty comfortable and excited to add a second store here in the community. And again, I'm really here to answer any questions, any drainage questions, any site-specific questions. Happy to stay around and answer any questions, and appreciate the opportunity. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do have a couple people who did mark number 2, so I'll just go ahead and call your name. Amanda White.
I'm short, sorry. I live right off of Homestead on the other side of Adobe. And as much as I love dollar stores, I don't necessarily want one that close to my house. Adobe and 2 Mile right there is a seriously packed location. It is the main travel road for the base on and off. There are a number of accidents there already. There was in fact one there 2 or 3 days ago, because people just aren't paying attention on cross traffic and how fast they're going. And I feel like another dollar store right there is so close to a residential area where there are family, like with kids, would just increase that instance for traffic accident or collision. It's just a lot to put so close to a residential area. There's residential areas on the other side of 2 Mile and Bagley, and then I live on this side of 2 Mile of Homestead and Adobe. So like just that much more commotion on a constant daily basis would just make it even harder for those of us to get to work and be able to get to the gas station. Half the time you can't even pull into Circle K without having like to wait in the middle of the lane to try and get to the gas station. And I feel like that would just increase not only the vehicular traffic, but as well as foot traffic. It would just open that door to so much more chaos on such a small corner.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I have Eric Mendez.
All right, I'm not so short. So, hello, I'm Eric Menendez, and I operate a business here in 29 Palms, and I'm also a resident. I'm currently residing on Desert Trail, which is right around the corner from the proposed development. I would like to speak in opposition to the plan to open yet another dollar store here in 29 Palms. I think we need another dollar store like we need another tattoo parlor or barber shop. But before I made the career transition to property management, I spent a few decades working in nursing and emergency care. And over the past few years of running this business here in town, it's been great to be a part of the community and get to know so many here on the council. At last week's council meeting, it was nice to hear the Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvie was a nurse, and she spoke on the topic of racism and equity as a public health crisis. While I'm usually at these meetings attending the topic of VHRs and their impact on the community, I was preparing for tonight's meeting when it was learned of the application to construct a dollar store just a few blocks from my residence and only about a mile from 2 existing dollar stores. I had asked a city staffer about whether or not this project would be a green light because of the planning commission meeting, and he explained it to me in terms I understand. He said it's like a vacation home rental that you don't really want in your neighborhood, but as long as it meets all the planning requirements and it's safe and so forth, it would be approved. So I kind of am just here speaking on the record against this 4th dollar store in our town. I might not be able to stop this development with my public comments, but I would like to go on the record asking the Planning Commission and the council to take a look at whether or not we need more of these types of stores here. I reflect to last week's council meeting and the public's comments that were made during the discussion of racism and equity as a public health crisis. We are a community who has limited access to health care, and it is no secret that the corporations behind these dollar stores purposely and with laser precision place these stores within socioeconomically disadvantaged communities. It's absolutely predatory. I encourage each and every one of you to Google the term food desert and see what you find. And one of my first assignments in nursing school was to do a windshield survey of my community. This is where you drive by and count the number of liquor stores, grocery stores, pharmacies, healthcare centers, parks, discount stores, and etc. We then had to compare this data to a bunch of other health and mortality statistics and then apply how our findings impacted each other. There have been numerous well-published studies on the health of communities and the impact that these discount dollar stores have on communities. I please ask this commission and the council to please take this into consideration before we allow any more dollar stores to shut up shop in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have David Church. Oh, thanks. Okay, and then Miss Sign, saying that wrong? There you go. I'll let you tell it. Sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Jeevan Joseph, and my family has been living here for past 17 years. And we're actually the owner of Plaza Market. So building a Dollar General right behind our store, we don't know the impact will do to our store, even though they do carry general merchandise, beer, wine, liquor. They may not get it approved by now, but they will later on, beer and wine. We already have Circle K across the street. And Amanda brought a good point about accidents. We often see accidents a lot of time on 2 Mile and Adobe Road all the time. Yes, and the delivery part once a week, that's totally false. I own 2 stores, mobile gas station, Plaza Market. We get deliveries every day. Dairy, beer company has multiple, Highmark, Gate City, and Young's Market. You name it, there's multiple deliveries, Ice Company. You will have semi-vehicles coming pretty much every day there. So beside all that point, and Eric also brought a good point, We already have Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General Market, another Dollar General. I think we could do better than city. And thinking of that, you know, we're not making a lot of money at Plaza Market, so we don't know what kind of impact we'll do. You know, we have 3 employees there right now, including the family members. So if it impacts 40% to our business, I called a few friends that live out of the town, and they had Dollar General built right next to them, just like here. So if you pull the map, Travis, please, and we can show exactly where the store's going, where Plaza Market is, and it impacted them over 40%, as they said, on their sales. So they have decided to sell it later on at cheaper price for the stores. So if we look, that's the Dollar General, and this is our store, and this is our backyard. So it's literally right next to it, and they will sell general merchandise, beer, wine, hopefully liquor, and they stopped doing that at DJ Market to get the produce in. And we're just aware that what kind of impact in our business would have as well. That's all.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else would like to speak? Did you,
I filled out a form for another one. I just have one little concern.
oh, yeah, if you'd like to.
It came up while everybody was talking. My name is Elaine Bowden. I don't live near the dollar store area or anything. I do travel down 2 Mile Road, so I'm just concerned, are you gonna have a turn lane dedicated to go into that area? Because that is awful, like this other lady said, that is extremely busy, especially at certain times of the day. There's a lot of traffic. So are you gonna have a turn lane dedicated to go into, what is it, Bagley or something, whatever the side street is there?
There already is.
Is there? I don't recall it being a dedicated turn lane for there, so. But, okay, but that's what's my concern. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Bowden. Okay, anybody else? No? Did you want, to speak again? Okay.
Be happy just like to clarify a few things.
Okay.
So first off, just on the deliveries, to make sure everyone's clear, what we're referring to as far as once a week is Dollar General has a central warehouse, and they're very, very large trucks that require the certain turning radius that we need. That is the vehicle that typically come once a week. The gentleman's absolutely correct. The other deliveries, you know, for sodas, milk, what we refer to as more the bread trucks, they will come more often. But the good news is those don't need the same route and the same access that the larger truck does. So that's the only clarification I wanted to make there. And then one point just regarding Dollar General is we hear that often and feel like we kind of get grouped into this dollar store category, and we feel it sometimes it's accurate and oftentimes it's not. But I did want to point out that Dollar General did just recently, if you haven't been inside it, remodel the existing store to Dollar General Market, and something that they've been, you know, really pushing for years now, probably 6-7 years, is to provide more and more fresh food offerings in their stores. So if you've been in that store, their new concept is open air coolers, so that they can actually carry produce and vegetables. And then in addition, which this store will also include, is they're just providing many more coolers for those food items. So, which I think is very different. You know, we're not a Dollar Tree, we're not a single price operation. Most people probably have already shopped at the store, so I don't need to go into that detail. But those were the two things I just wanted to clarify for everyone. So,
Thank you, I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Did you want to speak, ma'am? I saw your hand raised. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll just ask that afterwards if you don't mind filling this out. But yeah, please come up to the podium.
I apologize, my hearing
Sorry.
it's going. I oppose this going in where it's at. The location would best be suited possibly at the end of Adobe and on the corner situated with Adobe and Amboy. It would specifically serve the other outlying communities. We have so many within our perimeter here that it's just, I don't feel it's necessary that one go right in at 2 Mile. as far as the low lights go, because I live right there on the corner of Howard, I right now have to put up, I have in my windows, because at night Foster Freeze shines into my house as it is. But I love them, so. But another thing is the facade of their stores, and I know they're saying they're gonna do a low-level lights. We went through Yucca, it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, all the lights are glaring. And JT right there, the store's closed, but all the lights are still on. And everyone's screaming about the electric and the grid, the flex alerts. I don't see a reason for lights to be burning when nobody's out too much. As far as the flooding goes, have you done a impact study on the volume and velocity on this site?
The applicant is required to submit a drainage report as part of their submissions. So,
And would that be available to the public?
yes.
Okay. Because our friends live down there. And as you know, I heard you briefly, a 10% out there. My hearing's not good, but I think it'd probably be a little bit more than 10%. We do have flooding issues right there that go into the stream bed.
So what I said was that the applicant required, anybody in the city that
Yes.
develops is required to retain the pre-development floodwater.
Pre-development.
Pre-development, so before blacktop or roof lines or anything, whatever the runoff is, pre-development plus 10%. So in essence, you're reducing any runoff on site.
So could you tell me what the existing runoff on the site is now prior to development? Because right now it's bare land, which I'm sure absorbs water a lot easier than blacktop.
It does, but they are required to put in stormwater management. They can be retention basins, they can be underground basins to hold that water on site.
So the 3-minute warning came up, but if you'd like to, you can further, discuss those details, by stopping in and getting, the information that you're seeking.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget to fill out the yellow paper. And then I believe I had one more. One more to speak on this, or if not, I'll close the public.
I just wanted to ask a question.
Of course.
Bud Wiederholt, I'm trying to recover from 10 years up there, so. Clarification, or I didn't understand, or whatever, this access off of Homestead. Can we have back 1 or 2 pictures?
Are you asking about the 10%? What is that meaning?
No, I'm asking about the access, well, if I can have the picture. Okay. The long axis faces north on the proposed site, on Bagley, which intersects Homestead. Okay, which then you go a little ways, and it intersects Smoke Tree. So naturally, I'm concerned because that's where I live. But nonetheless, I was not clear on the access. Did I understand you proposed that the semis or all the trucks are gonna come off of Homestead into the back of?
The large delivery trucks would come down Homestead from the east and pull into the rear of the site in this location here. I don't know if you can see my mouse.
So he's showing you on the screen how that truck's gonna come through.
Right. And then would come through the drive aisle here. They would unload in this area.
Do you see it on the screen? So you're,
If we could step back just 1 or 2 pictures, I think I can make my question more clear.
okay.
This one?
One more?
More. The intersection.
Oh, that was Google Maps. Just a moment, bear with us. We'll go ahead and pull. Is this what you're speaking of?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
getting there, we're getting there.
Oh, I see where you're saying smoke tree
Yeah.
right there. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so now we're looking South Bagley,
yes.
along, and then Homestead this way, yeah. And then there's smoke tree.
I'm dragging this out a lot more than is necessary. This is Bagley,
Correct,
Right.
this is Homestead,
correct.
um,
Smoke tree.
Smoke Tree is here.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, do I understand that the idea is, quit Googling.
Sorry.
Okay, the majority of the project is going to face, or the width of it is going to face onto Bagley, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
the long side of the property is on Bagley. The project itself faces 2 Mile. with
The front door, yeah.
Yeah, the store and the parking and all that.
The question is the majority of the wide side faces on. So are we saying that the entry will come off of Adobe on Homestead and then in behind Bagley?
Yes.
Not the main entry. The main entry will still be off of Bagley.
Delivery truck.
But for deliveries, yes, the larger ones. But for most,
That's what people are concerned about.
yeah,
My concern is just with that access, we've got a resident here, a residence here, a residence here, a residence here. You've got a whole block over here on Bagley with nothing across the street from it. Seems like a lot more logical place to put your access in and out. As opposed to, granted, it's not door to door, but as opposed to in where the residents are.
So I do understand what you're saying, sir. But the traffic then would come from 2 Mile, which would be worse. Because then you'd have the trucks turning into that way. So the idea is that it's like, almost like a one-way.
Going in and out, all right, here we go. Okay, this is in question, right?
right.
Okay, so what we're suggesting then is they come in here with the trucks?
Yes.
Okay. And then where are they gonna come out? They're gonna go back out?
No, exit out to 2 Mile.
They come out Bagley to 2 Mile.
Yeah, exit out,
Or are they gonna come out too?
They come out Bagley, and
Bagley
then 2 Mile. There's
to
no
2 Mile.
entrance to the store from 2 Mile. You must turn on Bagley. That's the entrance to come in. So there's no entrance from 2
We're
Mile.
gonna run the trucks in front of the residents here as opposed to something like this.
The trucks that currently go to Plaza Market and the surrounding areas.
So the trucks aren't making a left turn off at 2 Mile.
So yes, you're gonna run the traffic through where the residents are as opposed to where they are not. But
That is the travel direction, correct?
thank you.
Then the trucks won't be making a left turn off at 2 Mile.
Okay, so no further public comments. I'll go ahead and close. Yes. Just make sure I really need one of these filled out too.
I didn't check with her.
So Lori Wiederhold, and I live on Smoke Tree. So I obviously don't want a Dollar General right on my block. So most of the streets that you're actually going to be driving your trucks on are residential. Bagley is a residential street. Homestead is a residential street. Now, granted, on the side where the Plaza Market is, it is a little wider than it is when you're coming down. So if your trucks are coming off of Adobe, making a left onto Bagley, right? That's unbelievably busy. And that's dangerous. And I think that it's just not well thought out. I'm sorry. There's a lot of other places in 29 if you're going to have to add another store, which I don't agree with. but I oppose this. I mean, this is dangerous, and I don't want big semi-trucks, on the corner of my street. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weiderhold. I appreciate that. And no further comments. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it up to here for further discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairperson. Yeah, I would just like to add that I understand that the feeling that people have about the number of dollar store or dollar type stores we have. Dollar Tree and Family Dollar are owned by the same corporation. They combined in 2014. Dollar General, one of the complaints we've always had is like we only have one grocery store, which is the Stater Brothers. And Dollar General is now converting one place into a DG Market. And I walked through there and they're making it more so it's an option for people to go and buy foodstuffs. We're also getting a grocery outlet. This store is going to be a lot smaller, but the reason why these stores came up in Joshua Tree and Morongo Valley is because they do fill a need. And the other thing is that, yes, I would like to see a Trader Joe's or a Whole Food. That's not going to come to 29 Palms right now with our economic strata. Be nice, but it's not going to. But this does fill a need, and the other thing it does is these stores do provide a need, and they make money, and they provide sales tax to the community, which we can do other things with. I think the traffic pattern concerns with one semi per week, one large truck per week. Yes, smaller deliveries will be made, and the traffic pattern it looks like that's the best we can do with what we have. The store is being asked to be put in an area that is zoned commercial general. And when you buy a house next to a commercial general area, you run the understanding that you're going to be in that area. So that's all I would add to that, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Jason?
I definitely understand everyone's concerns as well. Obviously, concerns that I am thinking and running through my head as well. Also, like Jim said too, with it being commercial, there are some limitations that we have to impose because it is a commercial area, even though we have residential in that area as well. So that would be something that obviously I'm thinking of as we go through. The concern was obviously those large number of trucks coming through. Obviously, there'll be one coming through weekly, obviously smaller ones, but it's going to be widened for that area. Other concern I have is a lot of the traffic will come down through Homestead to the actual building or for customer-wise and also delivery as well. But, I mean, other than that, it's really all I have to add.
Thank you, Jason. Matt?
I don't like the location because I think it's going to add a lot of traffic to Adobe, and with people coming, delivery trucks, they're not going to come from the base to get to here. They're going to come from the highway. They're going to be driving up Adobe, turn on to Homestead, turn down Bagley. There's going to be a lot of traffic in that area right there, and that's already a busy enough area. I don't like the location of it and the traffic patterns.
Okay, thank you. If we don't have any further discussion, anybody have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the site plan and design review for the construction of the Dollar General store with the added dark sky lighting requirement.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Nay.
Vice Chair Dixon,
Nay.
Chair Palahana.
Aye.
So we have a split vote, 2-2.
It would have to come back with the full commission.
Okay, then we'll come back when we have all five.
Okay.
So we'll have to continue until, do we have a date certain, or do we have a continue to be noted? Continuation.
It would have to come back to a date certain.
Yes. So do you have,
July 6th would be our next meeting.
okay, so we will move to continue this on July 2nd, 2021.
July 6th.
July 6th.
Yeah.
7/6/2021. Okay. What do I need to do?
Yeah, July 6th.
Okay, that's set.
At 5
So
p.m.
undetermined tonight, but we will bring that back when we have our fifth member. So we will now be moving on to item 3, which is PC 2118, the VHR appeal for Foothill.
Okay, but before we jumped into the staff report, I just wanted to mention that there was discussion, quite a bit of discussion at the council meeting last week about VHRs, both for and against. Those for VHRs and those in opposition. A lot of ideas were thrown out that the council wants to consider, and the council would like to get the planning commission's feedback on some of these ideas. So one of the thought processes was that we would have a study session on July 20th, in which these ideas would be presented so that the planning commission could have input on it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's just a little preamble there.
Good evening, Commissioners. This item is an appeal of a vacation home rental permit, number VHR 184. The VHR applicant is David and Diantha Levine, and the appellant to the permit is Sharon Ross. The property is located at 68927 Foothill Drive. It's in the Indian Cove area. The property is zoned residential single-family, 4 dwelling units per acre. It's a 0.46 acre lot. This is the map showing the location of the proposed vacation home rental. And this is a photo of the vacation home rental, a couple of photos. Okay. So the appellant has cited the following reasons as basis for the appeal: negative effect on living standards and negative effect on property values. There have been no complaints to code enforcement regarding this property.
Do you have a number? Hold on one second. Do you have a number?
His number, yeah, you guys can call him. Sorry.
This is for the applicant or
Yeah,
appellant?
the applicant. Yeah.
Okay. So they're just, they want to be,
Tried to come on the live stream, but he couldn't, there was no access for him to speak. Thank you.
just bear with us just a moment. We're calling the applicant.
Hello, Mr. Levine?
Yes, hello.
Hey, this is the planning commission meeting for the case. And, okay. I know, but you can't speak on. So I'm going to try to get you here on microphone so that the people in the audience can hear as well.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right. Okay, Diane, sorry.
Sorry, Diane, thank you.
That's right. Okay,
Should I start?
No, we're giving the presentation now. Applicant would be called in a minute.
Okay. So
thank you.
all required documents for the VHR application have been submitted. The required safety inspection has been completed, and the applicant is in compliance with all the requirements to receive the VHR permit. So staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission deny the appeal and approve the application for the vacation home rental. That concludes the staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions after public comment.
Right, and just would reiterate, the remediations for violation include citing the applicant, not renewing the permit based on violations, and revoking the permit based on violations as well.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Ms. Diane?
So I have one quick one. You said that there hasn't been any complaints, but it's not approved vacation home rental yet, so
That's correct.
how could there be complaints? If there
We
isn't?
always check the history of the property to see if.
Well, right, but if they had a pleasant long-term rental and they said, well, I want to make more money and do a vacation home rental, we
Right.
wouldn't know if they've had raucous parties and things at this address because it hasn't been permitted to be a vacation home rental yet. So the complaints is kind of there hasn't been any complaints, right? Because it was either they lived there or they bought a second home now and they want to do a vacation home rental. So no complaints isn't a good data point to base our decision on.
Well, we always check to see if it's
Right.
a problem property. If it's a property that's had a history, of some sort of criminal activity or
Right, okay.
cause of disturbance.
So
that
not
kind of
just
thing.
a noise complaint, but
Right.
for all regarding that property.
Right, so that,
So
So
we're
you won't
just not yet.
answer-
Yeah, just not yet. We're just discussing up here when it's open for public comment. So did you have any questions for Dan?
No, I don't.
Jim?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that, no, I understand what my colleague's addressing the point and understanding it's a problem property, but once it is a vacation home rental, permitted to be a vacation home rental, then it would be watched over. We have a regulation in place. I guess my question would be of all the vacation home rentals that we've approved, and with the regulation that's been in, or the ordinance has been in place for now 6 years, how many complaints do we have that have been brought to the city?
we had 3 official complaints.
3 official complaints, thank you.
Okay, so if we have no further
I
questions?
have just one more.
Uh-huh.
How many in, this is in, what housing neighborhood is this?
Indian Cove.
Indian Cove. How many approved vacation home rentals are there in Indian Cove?
It was 8, so I think it's probably around 12 now.
I don't know that that was been approved. We have some pending. I'd say more like probably about 9 or 10 of them
Then-
right now, and then we have,
Roughly how many homes are in Indian Cove?
just under 400. So there's like 380
Okay,
something houses up there.
okay.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And for I only saw one that mentioned for line item 3. And your name? Cindy.
Do we want the?
Okay, so I have Chuck Hurt, but first, we have the applicant on the phone. Mr. Clark had dialed them in, so we'll go ahead and allow them to speak, and then we'll go ahead and address the public comment sheets.
Okay, Mr. Levine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear members of the council, our Foothill home is a dream come true. The desert is an escape for us, a world away from the chatter of our everyday life. Avid hikers and environmentalists, we are delighted to see our children appreciate nature and hope to instill a love for our earth and commitment to conservation. Witnessing their awe and excitement while exploring Joshua Tree National Park is inspiring and deepens our appreciation for the land. We hoped for a desert home for years, and now it's a reality. We're excited to give this small Oscar Bailey house the attention it deserves, choosing sustainability and efficiency in materials. Planning these long overdue improvements and repairs, we prepare for our future memories. Counter space for cactus-shaped holiday cookies, a large dining table for family dinners and game night, a reading nook for sunset bedtime stories. We plan to watch our children grow up in our personal desert retreat and hope to retire here long term. While we visit as much as we can, we're currently unable to live in our desert home full time. Our jobs and schools are in San Diego County. For us, short-term rental is a win-win. Our home will be occupied, and other families will be able to enjoy a peaceful getaway. As short-term rental patrons, we find the experience to be a blessing while traveling with our little ones. We hope to provide the same comfort to other families visiting this national treasure. We are working with Desert Beacon, a knowledgeable local property management company, to ensure that we and our guests are following all regulations and respecting the property and neighbors. As we consider this our home, we have an interest in being selective with our guests. We support local businesses, artists, and parks and have a deep appreciation for the natural beauty of Indian Cove. We're excited and grateful to be members of this community. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to express our perspective.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I just also want it to be known that I did receive letters, but Miss Cindy Bernard is here, so I believe you'll be speaking on yours. And then we also have Heidi Hurd. Oh, yeah, and that would be for Chuck Hurd. Okay, so we do have two separate letters. There was a amendment made, a second one presented. So we do have both of those on file. So we'll go ahead and have Chuck Hurd, sir, if you'd.
Leslie, I think the appellant, you've got the applicant, and now the appellant should speak if she's here. Is the
Oh,
appellant-
do we have the appellant here? Sorry, forgive me, Mr.
She's
Hurd.
not here.
Oh, she's not here?
Yeah, so this is our husband, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm Chuck, I'm Heidi's husband.
Okay.
She had a
Sh-
previous engagement.
Sharon Ross is actually the appellant, so is she
Yeah.
here? No, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue with
Okay.
Mr. Hurd.
And all I
Thank you.
want to do is read her statement, since she couldn't be here. But I live in Indian Cove. I've got a VHR 100 yards from me. I've got another one 100 yards from me, and this is going to be a couple 100 yards from me. And I walk my dog every day, and there are more and more and more. I could see, there's 5 of them on Indian Cove. And there's, what's that?
Sorry, I think it was just feedback from the phone
Oh.
call.
But anyway, you know, we're being inundated, but let me read her statement if you would. It says, and this is for 4 also. I didn't
Okay,
know they were
thank you.
separate. It says, I am writing in support of the appeals on 68927 Foothill Drive and 6721 Desert Quail. As you work through all the issues surrounding the VHRs in the city of 29 Palms, think about the neighborhoods you grew up in, raised your kids. You knew your neighbors, neighbors knew you. You knew you could go to them if you needed to borrow a cup of sugar, etc. Your kids knew that too. Now imagine your house is surrounded by VHRs. You are now on your own, no neighbors to rely on, no one for your kids to run into for help if needed, no neighbors keeping an eye on your place while you're gone for the weekend, no neighbors to check on your pets, no neighbors to have a barbecue with, no families for you and your kids to hang out with. There are only strangers in the houses that change every few days. The small town neighborhood camaraderie is gone. Please save the neighborhoods of 29 Palms. Do your part to keep 29 Palms from turning into a city of hotels. You have the power to establish limits on VHRs and preserve the character of neighborhoods in the city. Insist that the council give the commission guidance to establish limits and consider neighborhood impact. There are already avenues in place to enforce the rules of VHRs using code enforcement and local law enforcement. The main issue that needs to be addressed are limits. Limits are needed in order to preserve the character of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. I appreciate that.
So I do have a question for you, Mr. Hurd. So you did say that you have 2 next to you, or one on each side of you
One's
now?
100 yards up from me, and then there's another one to the east of me. And then this is going to be to the west on the next street over.
So those 2 that you have next to you, have they been rented since you've been there for a vacation rental?
Yes, they're constantly occupied. I have a husky, I walk twice a day, so I do the neighborhood and I walk by there, it's always, and they're very good, very nice people and stuff. It's just that our point is we need to set a limit. You know, I'm not against VHRs because there have been no complaints, there's been no real noise or parties or anything.
And that's my concern. I understand limit-wise, and obviously that's something the council will have to redirect towards us. But there has not been any complaints for those 2 that you have been at or seen?
No.
Okay.
No, it's been fine. Actually, my daughter got married in the park in March, and she stayed there. And,
Okay.
I mean, Corey's the owner, if I can say his name, and he's a great guy. The only thing is, you know, when you walk through, it's like, every day I walk the dog, it seems like there's a new sign up there, you know, and there's some next to each other, and the big thing is, you know, it's just, we're losing the long-term rentals, you know, the military base, we've got a friend who's got a long-term rental, she had 15 applicants, you know, there's no place for, you know, long-terms and stuff, and that's the issue I have.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not against them, but we just need a limit.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could have Ms. Bernard?
I also want to reiterate again, as I'm about to read this, that I'm not against them.
We just need limits. There's too many clustering in too close together, and that's really the problem. But here goes. My name's Cindy Bernard. I'm a full-time resident of Indian Cove. My family has been there since 1961. I'm here in support of the appeals filed on Foothill Drive and Desert Quail Drive. These properties are within 1.5 miles of each other, and I'm more or less in between them. There's a wash between me and the property on Desert Quail. Section B of the approval code states that the residential character of the neighborhood in which the use is located will be maintained and preserved, and that the issuance of the permit will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare of the residents in the neighborhood, or injurious to the community within the vicinity and the district in which the use is located. Yet the staff report for this item contains no evaluation of the neighborhoods in which these permits are located. There is also no mention of other short-term rentals also operating in the neighborhoods. Instead, there is the same cookie-cutter language inserted into both appeals that ignores the clause in the code about maintaining residential character. This cookie-cutter language makes it clear that the Planning Commission equates maintaining the residential character of a neighborhood with nuisance enforcement. This is missing the larger point. The residential character of a neighborhood is a set of ongoing relationships with people you come to know over time. Some of those may be problematic: barking dogs, loud music, and if you're in Indian Cove, especially kids racing dirt bikes up and down the street. But most neighbors become friends, people you rely on in your day-to-day life. They water your plants when you're out of town. They keep an eye on the local kids. They let you know when your dog is out. These relationships are lost when homes are surrounded by STVHRs. When that happens, the residential character of the neighborhood fails to be maintained as directed by your own approval code. One STVHR isn't a problem, of course, but both of these appeals are filed in neighborhoods that have 2 or more STVHRs operating in the vicinity of the permit request. This is why I'm asking you to put both of these permit requests on a temporary hold. I understand that the Commission has not received guidance from City Council on how many STVHRs in a neighborhood is too many, and that you guys asked Council for help at the June 15th meeting. Unfortunately, Council then bounced it back to you and publicized a temporary moratorium vote in August. There are now 43 pending permits, and more will be filed now the potential moratorium has been publicized. This permit bonanza will destroy our neighborhoods over the next 2 months. A solution, as I see it, would be for the Planning Commission to place temporary holds on these permits, pending guidance from Council, and perhaps a complete neighborhood evaluation, which includes existing STVHRs. Or, if you feel you can't do that, then temporarily waive the $300 fee for the second appeal during this interim period, so neighbors can afford to take their appeals to Council. Thank you for your service to our community. Can you vote on this tonight? That would be great.
Thank
So,
you, Cindy Bernard.
I have a
appreciate
question
that.
for you, sorry. If you can go back up to the... So you said one is not a problem. What do you consider a problem?
I think it's a problem when it gets to be like what Chuck describes, where, I'm not sure, Travis and I, we talked for 45 minutes the other day. So I have an understanding of the challenges of creating, what do they call, Travis, buffer zones?
Buffer zones using geographic information
Yeah,
systems.
And actually, one of the people that's in our little group that's trying to figure out a solution for this has a master's degree in, I think, urban planning. And she said that there are ways to use that software to effectively create buffer zones. And I think one of the challenges that we have, as Travis and I both discussed, and I also understand, and many of the people requesting limits understands, is that, some neighborhoods are 4 houses to an acre, other neighborhoods are 2.5 acres, other neighborhoods are 5 acres. So this does definitely create challenges for trying to work out what a reasonable limit is. Personally, I would say something like this many within a 1/4 mile circumference, like you say like this, and you draw like a 1/4 mile or a 1/2 mile, and you say within that area, we can permit this many. And then it's not like anybody who files a permit, over that number gets turned down. It just goes onto a waiting list. So when one of those permits goes down, right, for whatever reason, then you go on the waiting list and the next permit gets to open theirs. And that's a way of managing this density issue. It's a density issue. It's not it has nothing to do with the quality of the applicant. I'm sure they're all really nice people. I don't doubt it. It's a density issue.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If we can have Elaine Bowden. Oh, sorry, that's number 4, unless you wanted to speak on 3.
No, but 4 is very similar, so.
Do you want to wait till
Yeah, wait.
3? Okay. Mixed up my piles. I do have marked for number 3, Anita Pet.
I'm going to talk for a minute because she had a prepared statement, but I just want to kind of answer some of the questions about this appeal.
And your name?
Carrick, for the last item. Menendez. So, you know, we represent the Levines. They've been in this transaction for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months, you know, from time of seeing the house to purchasing it and so forth. And, you know, we were hesitant to take them on because we knew they were in the Indian Cove neighborhood, and we know kind of it's a hot button issue. And I've been talking with Jennifer Ruggiero online, and Cindy just approached me out there, and we're in complete agreement. You need to have some sort of guarantee that you don't end up with a house like, say, right here, that's like surrounded by vacation rentals on all sides. We completely get it. The Levines, you know, when I first went to meet with them, we drove around the neighborhoods. I don't see any approved vacation rental signs on any of those houses on either street. I mean, I don't know if there's an approved rental there that doesn't have their sign, but you might want to check it. I mean, the one thing I saw was like a house around the corner that had like 16 cars in the driveway. You know, but I didn't even see any sign of a vacation rental on that block. So, like, it was nothing like, you know, you can kind of spot them because they're usually well manicured and so forth. But in any case, they're, you know, they've been up several times. I mean, we've met them and their family like 3 or 4 times. They're very responsible, and they definitely deserve a chance to have their rental. And I think your question, Mr. Walker, on complaint properties for a property that isn't a vacation rental yet, I think just goes to show they asked that because it's something that they didn't just buy the house and start hosting people without a permit. They did the responsible thing. They're very responsible people. He's a physician, I'm a nurse. We kind of hit it off right away. You know, and they care about this community, and they do plan on being active members of the community, even though they live in San Diego. And one other thing, like the appellant who isn't here, you know, Mrs. Levine was so upset about the matter because she just felt so unwelcomed. She came up when she was here last, and they went over, and it turns out she doesn't even live here. It's a rental property. So, and I guess her thing is like she bought it for her retirement down the line. Well, that's kind of what they want to do. They have 3 young children. They come up here twice a month. You know, they want a house that they can be in and also have an investment property for their future. And we want to make sure that we know we're going to run the house responsibly. And, you know, Cindy has my number, Jennifer has my number, you know, so if there's anything, so they can call my cell if there's ever a problem with this property. So, thank you for your time.
You guys could speak privately. You guys can speak privately later.
Yes. Well,
So we'll go ahead and call up the next, Miss Elaine, did you want?
She should have directed it towards you.
Yeah. Did you want to, speak on this one, or up to you?
I don't know anything about this.
Okay, perfect. We'll leave it for 4. Okay, so if we don't have any further comments regarding, PC 2118 for Foothill Drive, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it up for further discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know how to start this. My family's been here since 1929. I love 29 Palms. And I'm glad a lot of other people like 29 Palms to where they want to come out here and live, and they find our place. I'm surrounded by vacation home rentals. I live in a rural living area. We have a regulation that's been in place, and I brought this up before, for 6 years, and there's limited things that the Planning Commission can do. Okay? When the city, if the city decides to do a moratorium for 45 or 30 days while we relook at the regulation or ordinance, that's going to have to happen. I know, Travis, I don't think we can issue a moratorium here. No, we can't. So we can't do that. I think the positives of the vacation home rentals, we've seen those, and I'm not sure how I would tell somebody, like, okay, you can have the economic advantage of having a vacation home rental, but you can't because you're living in the same area. I'm kind of a free market individual when it comes to that. But I also understand that people are concerned about the number in an area. So being as limited as we can do, I don't know if we have to do, was it described that some people were describing vacation home rentals that may not be licensed? Do we, they said there are some homes in the,
Yeah, they run software against,
but because they didn't have the sign out
possible
front, and I guess we have to have the enforcement, and we're doing that right now, and we're adding to our enforcement of that, so that makes that happen. So I guess that, those are the comments that I want to make. It's something to look at. I think we have a good ordinance. We can strengthen the ordinance, but a lot of the questions that people are bringing up are going to have to be taken on by the city council. Thank you.
thank you, Jim. Max?
I really think the letter that we need to take from Ms. Bernard, we need to take the characteristic of the neighborhood into consideration. I don't think we have in past appeals. We've just said they checked all the boxes. We have nothing. There's nothing we can do. This is a box that doesn't necessarily get checked in the appeal package or their application package, but it's something we need to take into consideration because, like, and the map we're looking at does not show if there's any other approved or pending permitted houses in this vicinity for us to look at. So we need to take that into consideration. And then I have a question. So if we deny or we approve the appeal, it then goes to city council, correct?
If they take it there.
No.
If
What would be the grounds that we would approve an appeal? Don't we have to have grounds?
Yeah, you would have to have findings.
You have to
Yeah.
have a finding. to do
Right.
that.
It's
finding.
diminishing the characteristic of that neighborhood. Having 12 and in Indian Cove alone, 10 in Indian Cove alone with some pending permitted, I feel that's diminishing the characteristics of the neighborhood.
But that number has not been determined.
Shelley said there's 9 or 10 approved permitted, which to me is a large number for Indian Cove.
For a 420 home area?
The-
No, there's 5 of them
But-
right on Indian Cove, but there's probably 8 right within 2-block radius of where that one is.
But I do understand your point that we cannot, who are we to determine who gets that financial gain and who doesn't? But we do that with a liquor, with a bar. We say per capita, we can only have so many bars in the city of Twin Palms. The state regulates that. We could come up with something to that effect as well, but that is a way to, and then if we've hit our max number of approved permits, so when somebody comes off of the list, then there's a lottery for somebody to come back on the list. But I really think we could, in my opinion, I don't know, deny the appeal, I guess, and send it based off just it's changing the characteristics of certain neighborhoods. Or approve the appeal, because it is, in my opinion, it is changing the characteristics of these neighborhoods, and she does it, it says it in the code. That would be a reason for us to approve the appeal. That's it.
Thank you. Jim?
So I definitely understand both sides, Max and Jim's arguments. I also understand you as the public and your concerns. Once again, there is code in there stating that, you know, there is nothing in between saying there has to be this many or that less. And that's where my concern is. Obviously, I do believe this is a concern that needs to be addressed through the council and then maybe re-looked at through the code. Is that something we can do now? As of right now, with what the code says, I don't believe that's something we can do. I know you mentioned before about if the appeal is denied, and then you could take it to the council. I mean, obviously, I know there's a fee to that. Obviously, we can't do anything about that. But once again, the more limelight that's out there, maybe the higher it's going to be for them to come down and say, let's relook at this. With that being said, you know, I do understand everyone's concerns, and I honestly look at some of these vacation home rentals as, you know, hey, there could be positives to there just as much as negatives. But if we have no documentation showing, or maybe we need that process for that year for them to have that appeal and then come back. If there's concerns, you need to contact law enforcement, code enforcement, so that way you have a leg to stand on when you come back and we either approve the appeal for another year or we deny it at that time. So I definitely understand your concerns with that as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And so, if we don't have
Well,
any further
I
questions.
Well, I would like to add one comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and I just want to address Mr. Walker's statement. I think the way that the regulation was written is about the neighborhood is that the appearance, the maintaining, and the one thing I noticed with vacation home rentals, that's one time when the city can come in and with the applicant for the vacation home rental has to meet a lot of hoops. He has to meet the health and safety requirements, which we don't require for long-term rentals. So they have a bigger, and that's, I think, was what they were talking about in the regulation, about dealing with the neighborhood. But yes, we do have to agree with, if there's an issue with the number, or if we're going to limit the number, again, that has to be taken up with the council.
Thank you. Anything further? Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we deny the application for appeal of the vacation home rental and approve the VHR 184 located on 68927 Foothill Drive.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Krushat?
Aye for denial of the appeal and approval of the vacation home rental application. Yeah.
Commissioner Walker?
Nay for, I want to approve the appeal.
Okay. Vice Chair Dixon?
So wait, it's, what now? It's
So the
It's
motion.
aye.
Okay. And Chair Pahana?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. So we have 3-1 to deny the appeal and approve the vacation home rental.
Yes. Okay, so now we will be moving on to our fourth item, which is PC 2119 for the VHR appeal of Desert Quail Drive.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this is an appeal of vacation home rental, proposed vacation home rental permit number VHR 187. The VHR applicant is Kevin Lau. There are 4 appellants to the proposed vacation home rental: Elaine Bowden, Donna and Mitch Templeton, Gerald and Rosalie Fabricus, and Donald Zawajki.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The property is located at 6721 Desert Quail Drive. It's a 2-acre parcel, and the zoning is RSE, which is 2.5 acre minimum. So this is a map showing the location of the vacation home rental. And this is 2 photos of the home. So the appellants have cited the following reasons for basis for the appeal. The potential for noise, night sky violations, transient visitors, trash, negative effect on property values, and negative effect on road conditions. Again, there have been no complaints to Code Enforcement Division regarding this property. All required documents have been submitted by the applicant. The safety inspection has been completed, and the applicant is in compliance with all the requirements for approval of the VHR permit. So remediations for violating the VHR code requirements would be to cite the applicant for violations, to not renew the permit based on those violations, or to revoke the permit based on those violations. So staff's recommendation is to deny the appeal and approve the application for the vacation home rental permit. That concludes the staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Jim, any questions?
Just to confirm, this is in a rural living area, 2.5 acre per parcel? Okay, thank you.
Mark?
No questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
Yes.
Yes, this exact point, and welcome.
I just kind of want to, as a new community member where people like Elaine have welcomed us. I mean, we've written letters and we've tried to follow, the process that Diane and Shelley have laid out to a T. And I think, I can hear everyone's concerns, and I understand kind of being someone coming from outside, coming into this neighborhood, and, our letter to our neighbors addressed kind of some of the concerns that people may have, and all of the kind of things that we would do to try to mitigate against that. And I would like to just say our only mistake was during this odd period of this world that we hadn't met with our neighbors prior to submitting the permit application, right? And I just want to state that for the record, because that's kind of the lesson here, right? Like, granted that we are coming in as outsiders and we are applying for this permit that may have impacts to the community, or we're unknown to the community as well, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do our best to be good neighbors and members of the community and contribute to 29 Palms, right? And I just want to state that here, because that's very important for us, right? We can go into the different things we're doing and requiring a age above 25, no more than 6 people, noise monitors by decibel within our home, and all the different things that we've outlined in the letter. But I will just say that I have been just honored by kind of the response from when I have been meeting with our neighbors and their welcoming nature, the letters that they've even sent back, just with their concerns, and I'll quote on some of this letter, but it states that we've heard so many horror stories about vacation home rentals and the noise, nightly parties, and destruction of the neighborhoods. So to say we were very relieved for your plans and precautions to maintain a quiet and orderly area, especially when you are not actually here, we're very welcoming. Our appeal and concerns, of course, are still very pertinent, and I respect that. We are also very concerned about the greater number of vacation rentals that seem to be coming into your area. Many of us have lived in the area adjacent to your property for over 30 or more years, so I hope you all can appreciate our initial reaction, and we do appreciate that. I do want to state that. We are 3 different families that are excited to be able to bring our families here, first and foremost, as something we're privileged enough to have in this property, right? But your letter has done much to alleviate our concerns. We really appreciate you reaching out to all of us and introducing yourselves. We hope to be able to meet you and welcome you to the neighborhood, which I have subsequently done, and was honored to be welcomed into 3 out of the 4 appellants that are my neighbors. Welcomed with really open arms, truly honored. I think you enjoy living here, as it is a beautiful, quiet, and friendly area. Again, our concern was not entirely just your home and plans, but for the numerous vacation home rentals that are popping up in such a dense and close area to all of our homes. If I can be of any help to you or your families, please let me know. I think it is important to know our neighbors. We that currently have lived here for so long are not only friends, but almost family, and we care deeply for each other. I've just gotten a taste of how tight-knit the community is, how much of a shared background in serving our country and being veterans of this country. And I respect that so much, and I want to make that really clear. And even though our families who are coming here, we might not necessarily be the most traditional type of members of the community, or the usual suspects, I guess, so to speak, we are committed to being helpful community members and neighbors. And I just want to be able to state that for the record, despite all the other precautions and things we want to do. I think not every STR, VHR applicant necessarily has the same intentions. We intend to be part of the 29 Palms neighborhood and community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Law. I appreciate that. We will now hear from Miss Elaine Bowden.
I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for hearing my concerns. My name is Elaine Bowden. I live at 70170 Cottonwood Drive in 29 Palms. and my land is adjacent to 6721 Desert Quail Drive, which is pending approval as a vacation home rental. I have lived at this address, a little background from me, since 1984. That's over 37 years. I've lived in 29 Palms since 1973. Many of my neighbors in this area have lived in the area for over 30 years also. And like Kevin had said in my letter to him, we are more family than just neighbors. Many of us are in our 70s and 80s. We look out for each other. We're concerned for the safety of our neighborhoods, especially when we hear about all the violence and riots in the cities along the coast, specifically Los Angeles and San Francisco. We understand why so many people that live in those areas want to come to our pristine desert area. We have nothing against our new neighbors at 6721 Desert Quail. We received a very kind and detailed letter from the owners, as well as a visit from Kevin. He stressed to us their desire and love of the desert is the same that we long-term residents have. We understand and we welcome them to our friendly neighborhood. They have assured us they will be responsible and responsive to our concerns regarding noise, nightlight pollution, and off-road vehicles causing dust and noise. They also do not desire this, and that is why they want to move here. So why am I up here? My concern is not with the families that have purchased this residence. Rather, it is with the large number of vacation home rentals that are cropping up in our immediate area. I am repeating what the other people have already said. We have got to have a limit on vacation home rentals. You people are the Planning Commission. As I understand the Planning Commission, you plan what happens in the city of 29 Palms. So I am asking you to take under consideration, and I have read your vacation home rental, chapter 1941 in detail. I am asking you to take it under consideration to, again, what Cindy said, to look at how many are in an area. I know that it doesn't sound like 14 or 15 in an area of 450 some places in Indian Cove are very much, but it is. Indian Cove is in a dense area of population. And if you have 5 houses around you that are vacation home rentals, that is almost too much. We are not concerned with Kevin and his family. And we know that you probably will approve that, and that is fine with us. But we're concerned with the amount of vacation home rentals. Within my area, within half a mile of where I live, there are 2 approved ones, one pending to be an area for a choreographer retreat. A man from Los Angeles bought that area. It's 7.5 acres. He's going to make it into a choreographer retreat. You haven't got that yet, but that's the rumor. Across the street, we have another couple of places that are saying, oh, we're going to sell ours, and their homes are up for sale, and they're planning on making them vacation home rentals. You don't have that yet, but that's the rumor. Now, that is too many in that area. So that is our concern. We're concerned about the crime rate. Now, Kevin and his family have good plans on who's going to rent their home. But we don't know this other people. We don't know that they're going to have, we're going to have strangers in our area. We don't even know if these strangers are going to be renting these vacation home rentals, but they're going to be. How about that family in Joshua Tree that was attacked in a vacation home rental? I know you all heard about that. So, and these are our concerns. So we're just asking the Planning Commission, please take this under consideration, limit the number of vacation home rentals in our city so we can remain a pristine desert community. Thank you very much for considering what I have said.
Thank you, Ms. Bowden. Any further public comments? Remember to fill one of these out too. Yeah.
I didn't come here planning on talking because Elaine couldn't talk for both of us. But my name is Donna Templeton, and I live on Desert Quail. I live 2 houses above where Kevin is going to live. We talked to my husband at the door. And we have really no complaints about that because he's been very clear about how that whole situation will be handled. However, there are 3 more, which you don't know about, potential vacation homes in our area. One right above where I live, so it would be just to the north of our house. One just recently bought right across the road from us, and one 2 doors down from us. So there's 3 more pending. And that's what we're talking about, Elaine and I, is the density in that area. We've lived there for over 30 years. Totally family-oriented, 2.5 to 5 acres, which are designated for families. And now we're looking at more vacation homes popping up. So that's really our concern, is when's that gonna stop? And I know Indian Cove has had a lot of problems with crime lately, marijuana busts going on. We don't want that in our community. And the more strangers that move in, the more likely that stuff's gonna happen. So that's what we say, is please consider the density of these vacation homes popping up in small areas around us. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment. Any further? No. Go ahead and close the public hearing. Bring it up here. Do you guys have any further discussion?
I just don't want to reiterate everything that's already been said, and I feel kind of funny because I know Miss Elaine Bowden and my mom used to make quilts together. So, and the only thing I would, I start to get a concern again is, because discussion has been in the past about, okay, we're going to limit vacation home rentals to 2.5 acre area, 2.5 acre parcels, limiting the number, which I know this Planning Commission would be more than happy to review the whole regulation and do that, but we have to do that at the direction of the council. We're really kind of limited in what we can do. I'm going to have to reiterate that I know that you can have problems both with long-term and short-term rentals. They're about the same. I think with the short-term rentals, we have more control, but I will add that if at the direction of the council, more than happy to take this ordinance apart, relook at it, and kind of look at clustering or limitations. I just feel, and I also think that the market's going to also adjust itself. One of the homes in my area just went from a short-term back to a long-term rental because he wasn't renting it. And that is something that's going to probably show up over time. It's going to get saturated, and a lot of them are going to go back to long-term rentals. And that's all I had to add.
Thank you, Max.
Just the same stuff I said for the last one, but he did bring up a good point that the long-term rental situation in town is pretty difficult for people to find a long-term rental. I, in September, had to move from where I was living and barely was able to find in time a place to rent. And it was definitely much bigger than I needed and much more expensive than I needed. So, but it was, a roof, so I had to take it. So I think we need to figure out, and we do need city council to, say, relook at the development code and bring us your adjustments to it. So, but I think there's some things we need to look at the code and get tightened up and better.
Thank you, Max. Jason?
No, I agree, and I'm going to reiterate everything I said before on the last one as well. The one issue I do have is obviously we don't know what the future is for those that are for sale now. They could, someone could buy them, someone could be a long-term owner that lives in those houses, so we can't go under the assumption that the rumor is there's 3 more coming. Once we get them come to us, then obviously we can address it at that point in time. But once again, it's still a good concern to bring up to City Council, so that way we can look at that. So as I'm looking at it here, I'm seeing this 1 and not potential for 2 or 3 more, just because houses are sold or for sale at that time. But I do obviously have a concern with, short-term rentals versus maybe long-term, but it ebbs and flows. You could have great neighbors for a long-term, and you could have terrible neighbors for short-term, or it could be vice versa as well. But once again, that's just a concern that we have from the previous one and to these and any other ones that we come across as well. But that's all I have.
Thank you. I appreciate all the public comments. I appreciate you speaking out on what you feel that you desire in your communities. I know everyone has heard this many times. We cannot decide those big changing factors tonight. We have how the code is written and how our ordinance is written now. That's what we go off. If we have other findings, or something that comes up that we would, change that, then we would, but as of now, if it goes that way, and it's approved, this needs, the law comes from, or the way that we're going to change that is through city council. They're tracking this. They're not like, I wonder what happened over there about that. They're definitely tracking the meeting that they had, hour and a half of just hearing everybody's concerns. It's not something that, and I hope you don't take this away from it. It's not just like, oh, cool, we had a meeting, check in the box. Okay, next meeting. Oh, you guys are still talking about that? I thought, that's not how it's taken. All the concerns are gathered and overlooked, and then it has to be sorted out. And it sounds like that's heading that way. Maybe the ban or the temporary memorandum isn't coming until they meet again in August and whatever they decide then. But it's every concern, everything that you express, every email you're sending in, every 45-minute discussion with Travis, it's heard. And I just hope that that's at least one takeaway. It's just going to take a little time to kind of get this sorted, statistical data gathered, just to make the best decision for our city. So I appreciate all of that. And with that being said, if I have a motion.
All right, based on how the code is written, I make a motion that we deny the appeal and approve the application for the vacation home rental.
And I second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Khrushchev?
Aye for denial of the appeal and approval of the application for 8721 Desert Quail Drive.
Got it. Commissioner Walker?
Nay.
Vice Chair Dixon?
Aye.
Chair Pahana?
Yay.
So we have 3-1 to deny the appeal and uphold or allow the vacation home rental.
So that means it has been approved. Yes. Okay. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to our discussion and potential action items. We do not have any. So we will go to our Community Development Director updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to reiterate, right now we're planning to have a study session on vacation home rentals July 20th, 5 p.m. It's a regular Planning Commission meeting. A lot of ideas were thrown out at the City Council meeting. And, the desire was to sort of think these through because in any change to the regulation, a lot of times there's unintended consequences and to try to foresee those. So we'll be bringing those back to you and getting your opinion on that and taking those back to City Council.
Nice. Okay, so July 20th, we'll talk
July
about it.
20th. Vacation
Perfect. So we can't discuss anything not on agenda.
The Planning Commission cannot waive fees. Fees are set by City Council, yeah.
Okay, Travis.
Okay, all right, so just kind of an update on what's going on in the community. Project Phoenix is coming along. You've probably seen the buildings are actually rising out of the ground now. It's been a whole year and a half of working, but it was all stuff below ground, so not the really interesting stuff. There was about a week and a half ago, there was a beam signing. It's kind of tradition that when you put up a building, the owners will sign the beam for posterity in 100 years or whatever. And the framing is going up now, actually going up really quickly. Every time I drive by, I'm kind of amazed at how much progress they've made. Sidewalks are now being poured. Tamarisk and smoke tree, a little bit of cholla as well. They'll soon be working on the paseo and laying it out and getting it paved. And the city is actually doing the improvements at Route 62 and Yucca Avenue. Of course, Caltrans did all the other ADA handicap ramps and the resurfacing, but because Yucca Avenue and Route 62 was connected to Project Phoenix, we wanted to do that. Caltrans was happy to let us. So anyway, we had our kickoff meeting today, and that work should start hopefully Monday of next week. So things going well there. The new planning case, the Wander Hotel, we're still in the process of our AB 52 consultation. That ends this week, and then we'll have an idea of when we can bring that back to you. As far as our city system, Citizen Serve, we continue to work out, deploy that system, work out all the issues. We're hoping that building and the safety portion and planning will deploy kind of mid-July. Of course, code enforcement is up there. We thought business licenses would be a pretty easy slam dunk one, but it turns out they're not. They're extremely complicated with HOPs and vacation home rentals, and there are renewals, and then there's health certificates and contractors' licenses. So it turned out to be actually one of the more complex ones, even more so than planning. So we're working through all of that, testing the data migrations and all that, making sure all the data migrated properly. But hopefully soon we'll be rolling out more of those modules so that a lot of times the citizens can serve themselves online and don't have to come into the planning office every time for a permit. It can all be done online. Let's see. Code enforcement, just wanted to mention that there's a derelict house on Adobe Road near the Theater 29 and the casino. It's been an eyesore in the community for 20 years. I think part of it was burnt out at one point. No, it's actually not, because it no longer is there. So that was one of the derelict properties that we had on our top 10 code enforcement list. It takes a while to actually move to bring these homes down, condemn them. A lot of paperwork, a lot of legal work, as you can imagine. But that was done, and the house is down. So you could almost not tell it was ever there. And then, of course, we'll continue down to the next one on our list. But I just wanted to mention, a little bit of good news. It's kind of a good thing that it's gone, because the state wants to make a site visit to the city for the potential of Pioneer Park. So not any kind of commitment that we've got the Prop 68 grant at all. Still extremely competitive. I think they have about 400 million in this last bond round, and they had 2.6 billion in requests. So, do the math, and it's about 15% will be funded. So, but the fact that they're making a site visit is a good sign. And let's see, Route 62 Caltrans project, as you probably noticed, that they're wrapping up all the paving. Just really some finishing touches now, installing the walk signal there at Tamarisk. So fully expect that most everything will be wrapped up by in a week or two, and then Yucca Valley will get all of the Caltrans work over the next few weeks.
So
and deal what we've dealt with for the last few weeks. But it really is a pretty good job just driving on the roads. It's almost like driving on glass. They're a lot smoother than they were, a lot fewer potholes. It's really quite dramatic change. And then the last thing, and I'll shut up here, Jim did go to our downtown specific plan workshop. We did pick the hottest day on the year to have it, so I think
that's always the best.
Affected turnout. But we are going to hold this again, and we thought the best way to do it was through a study session / public workshop here with you in the Planning Commission, and then open that up to the public as well, give them an opportunity to provide input. The consultant that we had brought some new ideas to discuss at the meeting, so there'll be opportunity to discuss those and to vote on different options that were presented as well. So we are setting that for July 6th, for our July 6th meeting, to essentially have the same workshop, but the workshop was 2 hours long. I will not go that long. We'll try to condense it into something much smaller. So, and those are all the updates I had. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have any questions for his updates? I'm excited about them.
Yes.
Always excited about your updates. We don't have any study sessions, and anybody else have anything before we go? Then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
Wow, we don't like Dollar General.